Hey y'all, I just went by Crown Valley Parkway. Now, I used to work at a hospital right there, and I worked there for about a year, I guess. And the way that I got that job was I was working for a temp agency. And, a temp agency, you can ask them for short-term assignments or long-term assignments, whatever. And so at the time I started working for them, and it was a company called Volt, VOLT. Now, they treated me really well. And I worked a couple of short-term, like 3 weeks. You work a lot of maternity, when someone's taking a maternity leave, you fill in for them at different companies. Well, anyway, I had 2 or 3 shorter term jobs with them. And so you usually have one person, I forget what they call it, but you have one person that works with you at a temp agency, usually. So anyway, I went in one day to pick up a paycheck, and I told my gal, I said, you know what? I think I'd like to try something a little more long term so I can kind of get to know the people, and it'll just be more comfortable than jumping around. Now, I'm going to tell y'all, when you work as a temp, I can speak from my own experience, of course, not anyone else's, but people don't like you a lot of the times. It's not like somebody will come along and say, hey, you must be the new temp, come have lunch with us. No, a lot of times you're just on your own. Y'all see that van right there? As long as I'm alive, y'all, I will never stop noticing vans and campers, ever. Anyway, so I said, I think I'd like to have some longer, a longer term assignment. And so she said, okay, I'll find you some. So she called me up and she said, hey, Deb, I've got a longer term assignment. It's working at a hospital, and it is a lot of filing. Do you think you'd be interested in that? And I said, sure. The money was pretty good. You always made, more than minimum wage. Maybe not a lot, but you made more than minimum wage. And so I got started at the hospital. And actually there was a couple of gals there, and they were pretty nice. And so they helped me, get acclimated and explain my job and so on and so forth. And so what I found out that I was dealing with, I had stacks, y'all. I'm talking stacks that were 1 and 2 feet tall of paperwork. And you had to take each paper and file it. And there were huge banks of filing cabinets. Oh my word. I've never seen so many filing cabinets in one place in my life. So anyway, what happened was I discovered that 3/4 at least of the filing that I had to do was already purged and in the dead files in the basement. Now that just seemed like that was like futile. I mean, how are you ever, it was unbelievable. And for someone like myself that has a hard time with things that are not organized, or I don't know, it was really, after 3 weeks of that, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't think I can keep doing this. So I called my little, I'll call her a representative. I called her and I said, sweetie, I'm telling you, I don't know how much longer I can do this job. I said, it's mind numbing. It would be different if I was filing, and right there in that bank of cabinets would be a spot for it. So I explained how it was working and everything. And she said, well, can you hang on just a little bit longer and let me see what I can do for you. I'd like to find a replacement for you because that would keep us from looking bad. And she meant us as in Volt. And I said, absolutely. As long as I know there's a light at the end.
In a half mile, keep left at the fork.
Sorry, y'all. But anyway, in about, I don't know, it wasn't even 2 weeks, she called me back and she said, well, Deb, I talked to the supervisor of the department that you're working for.
Keep left at the fork.
Okay, I am. So anyway, they said, well, she's an awful good worker. She's got a really good attitude. She gets along with everybody. We're just going to hire her on permanent. Oh, yeah, the filing job was at the hospital. I might have forgotten to tell you that. So anyway, that's how I got my job. And I worked for them as a patient representative. And so we were there. Our jobs were like alphabetical. Like you might have patients that their last name started from A to F. And so anybody that called would get directed to your phone if their name was within those, parameters. Well, I love my job, y'all, but I'm going to tell you, I had just not been in California too awful long. And if you think I have a southern accent now, you should have heard me then. Every phone call started out the same. Where are you all from, honey? Oh my word. I got so sick of that. And in the beginning, I felt like I needed to be, I don't know if you'd call it truthful, maybe factual. And so I would say, well, I was born in Caribou, Maine, but I moved to Texas when I was a little girl. I finally just started, when they would say, where are you all from? I'd say Texas. But it was a good job, y'all, and I really enjoyed it, except we kind of had to dress up. Now, why? We were like up on the 3rd floor, and nobody ever saw us. Except when we would go down to the cafeteria and get something to eat. Or the people that smoked went outside. But we did. Now, if we worked overtime on Saturdays, we could wear pajamas, y'all. Can you believe that? Oh my gosh. And you know what? They've done studies about this, is when people can dress casually for work, their productivity goes up. Okay, I'm at 9 minutes. Bye, y'all.